Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to GEEXX Reads. Today I want to talk about the book Blood Rites by Jim Butcher, and which you will see here. This is the, oh, one, two, sixth book? Ah, sixth book. One, two, three, four. Yes, sixth book in the Dresden Files series. Let's see. The war with the vampire courts and the White Council is still ongoing, but that's taken kind of a backseat in this novel. We open up on Harry trying to rescue some dogs. He's been contracted by some Tibetan temple. These are supposedly special guardian dogs. So they're puppies, actually. So he's rescuing puppies from a burning building, which he's been contracted to do by these Tibetan monks. Thomas Wraith makes a reappearance. He is actually a bit more of a prominent character in this book, although not too much. He's an important secondary character, but not like the whole thing. He asks Harry for a favor. He wants him to investigate. There's a movie studio who has been having some mysterious deaths involved, and he wants Harry to kind of like go undercover on set. He'll talk to the guy who owns the movie studio. He'll be like undercover. They'll make him like a production assistant kind of thing. Except it turns out that this movie studio makes adult films, and in this case, I do mean adult films. So there are worse assignments than going undercover on a porn set. In addition to that, the Black Court vampires make a reappearance. Harry has to deal with Mavra, one of the few surviving members of the Black Court, who is also apparently a powerful wizard as well, in her own right. So those are the primary stories going on. There is who's sending curses to this movie set and why, and the Black Court vampires. Harry decides to go on the offensive as far as the Black Court vampires go, but he is juggling a lot of balls in the air. Like I said, working on the undercover on the porn set, and trying to go on the offensive to try and at least take out whoever the Black Court vampires who are in town before they get to him. Thomas, who you may or may not remember, is a member of the White Court vampires. So the vampires are broken up into a couple different courts. There are the Red Court vampires, which is why which Harry got the war started by killing Bianca, a primary member of Black Court. Bianca of the Red Court. There's Red Court vampires and the Black Court vampires, both of whom feed on blood and death. And they're more the traditional vampires. They're affected by sunlight, silver, stakes to the heart, that type of thing. Although there are differences between the Black Court and the Red Court. The Black Court are essentially walking corpses. They are undead. Red Court vampires, not quite as undead. Their true form is more like bat-like and leathery blood skin kind of thing. They conceal themselves though amongst human appearance. White Court vampires feed off emotions and life force. And the Jade Court is only mentioned. We never actually see any of them. They've only been mentioned briefly up to this point. So Thomas is a member of the White Court. I think to this point, we've only ever seen him. I don't know if we've ever met any of the other White Court members. We do in this book. They play a more prominent role in this book, but considering they feed off emotions, the White Court, the local members of the White Court essentially feed off lust. Would classically be considered succubi and incubi. they can control people's emotions, make them feel desire, and then feed off of it. Which makes sense why Thomas is helping out on a porn set. So yes, we do get to meet more of Thomas's family in this book, as the White Court does take a more prominent role in this story. I have to admit, of the few members of the White Court that we've seen, I do like Thomas. He seems to be a bit less ruthless than the other vampires, even among members of the White Court, who are also a bit less ruthless. Not because they're nicer. They're still vampires. They still feed on people. People are still food. But they're less about being intentionally cruel. They don't. Well, some of them are, but there are a couple of White Court vampires who I happen to like as characters, in spite of the fact that they are still vampires. Thomas being one of them. Are there any plot lines going on? There's some Harry's ongoing relationship with Lieutenant Karen Murphy of the Chicago PD. Nothing too interesting going on there. It's more of a continuation of their friendship, and there's some subtle attraction there, which has always been, underlying their friendship, but nothing really progresses in that regard. Let's see. Yeah, without giving up, I don't like to spoil stories. This is pretty standard fare for the Dresden Files. And I mentioned this in the previous book, it's kind of moving away from the detective noir stuff. There is still some of that here. The opening dialogue is Thomas asking Harry to do some undercover work, so investigative work. But it's less of the noir stuff and a bit more modern, I guess, in its themes and the storyline. Whereas the original, 4 or 5 books felt like an old-fashioned Chicago private detective stories, just set in the modern times. It's kind of moving towards, more current. And the Wizarding world, I hate to say that, but yeah, things are shifting a bit. I do have a couple criticisms, though. As much as I love the series and I love the stories, something new is kind of, like I've mentioned, the constant plot exposition, because Jim Butcher treats these books as though no one has read any of the previous novels. So you get the plot exposition of Harry's apartment, Harry's car, his relationship with people, just reiterated over and over and over again. At this point, up to 6 times, it keeps going. We get the same reiterations of plot exposition in every book. So I've mentioned that in the past. With this story specifically, the mysteries are actually kind of solved fairly early. You kind of find out who's behind the curses. You find out where Mavra is hiding. Mavra, the Black Court vampire, is hiding. Probably, yeah, probably right around here. About 2/3 of the way through the book, the mysteries are solved. Not 100%. There are still some things out there, but the mysteries are like 80% solved about 60% of the way through the book. So like, this is all just closure. It's fun closure. It's good, but there's almost no mystery left. There's like little tiny details that we do find out as the story progresses, but none of them, I won't say none of them are important. They are important, but to have the mysteries solved so soon, I think it was a bit too soon. Although, not being a writer, I'm not sure how we could have done it differently. It just felt like it happened really early, and then we're just kind of waiting for the inevitable end. You know, we had like 150 pages of the inevitable. You know, this is only book 6 of like 14 or 15. We know Harry's not going to die, so there's no tension left at that point. It's just kind of waiting for the credits to roll kind of thing. So that's my own criticism for this book in particular. On the series as a whole, as much as I enjoy Harry Dresden and the characters and the books, one of the ongoing themes is that Harry is kind of oblivious to women being attracted to him. He is overly chivalrous, I guess you could say. And after a while, it starts to feel self-serving. Not in the characters, but more like Jim Butcher, the author, like patting himself on the back for being, you know, oh, I'm oblivious to how women are, you know. In Harry's case, all these women are attracted to him, and he's completely oblivious to most of it. And I think there's some good self-referential stuff where when Harry does become aware of it, he kind of like says, well, you know, usually when creatures are attracted to me, it's because they're evil and they want to kill me or seduce me and enslave me. So he kind of uses that as a defense from time to time. It's like this is why he kind of, you know, pulls back when women are attracted to him, or why he doesn't, you know, he has trust issues. But it's at some point it's like, you know, oh look, I'm Harry Dresden, you know, look how humble I am about women, you know, about being attracted to women and not thinking much of myself. And it just feels like the other's kind of pat himself on the back, you know, women adore me, but I'm really so humble and don't notice it, kind of thing. And I think I wouldn't feel that way if it wasn't such a heavily recurring theme in the books. I mean, yes, Harry being a lonely bachelor is part of the story. It is part of the series. I'm not sure if it's that part of the draw, perhaps, but again, at some point, it just starts becoming just get it over with, you know. Either have him settle down or have him be a lifelong bachelor. Just stop with that stuff, you know. It becomes too much. It's believable. I mean, I admit that it's annoying me, especially after I've read these books multiple times. You know, on first blush, it was okay. And also the fact that as I read these books as they were coming out, you know, I had a couple years in between, so it wasn't, it didn't hit me over the head quite as much. But having, you know, compacted, I'm going to be rereading this entire series over the span of the next few months. It's just a bit more prominent and a bit more noticeable. There are some good little bits, though, in the book. Things that were foreshadowed in previous novels, things that might have been hinted at. We do get some interesting revelations. I will not spoil them. I'm not sure how I feel about some of those revelations, though, or at least one of them. Even though I know how some of them resolve going forward. Don't know how I feel about some of these revelations. I still love the series, though. I really, really do. I was disappointed when Jim Butcher took so long between writing novels. I did find out, I think it was between Changes and whatever came after that. Yeah, there was like a 5-year period he didn't write, but I found out later he was getting a divorce, so he had reasons for not writing, I guess. But that's a few books ahead where those gaps go. Anyway, Blood Rites by Jim Butcher, book 6 in the Harry Dresden series. It's a solid addition to the franchise, and the series itself is just as good as the other ones. Aside from my few minor complaints, it's still just a great novel and lots of fun. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.